Welcome to Stump the Chump. Thanks everybody for coming. For those
Sit down.
For those
Everybody in the doorway, get your ass in here and sit down.
Yep. But make sure you have a beer first.
Yeah. Get a beer, then sit down.
It's hard to actually see.
Yeah. There are people there, right? We're blind, so we're assuming you're all actually, yeah.
Okay. So for those who haven't joined us for this before, it's your first time here at Lucene Revolution. So this is where we try to get Haas in a pickle with the questions he can't answer.
Did you just say pickle?
Yeah, we're going to get you in a pickle.
She's from the South.
No.
She is now.
So the questions have been submitted by you by email. We'll actually probably also try to take a few from the audience. If you sent in a question and we get to it, I'll show it on the screen. If you could stand up, actually, we have a couple mics right here in the middle. Come over there, maybe, so that if Haas needs some clarifications. He'll try to answer the question, and the questions that got closest to stumping him will win. And here's Haas. It's my favorite, absolute favorite picture of him, actually, so I'd have to use it from now on forever.
You couldn't have at least used the one where they photoshopped my hair? You had to use the original one?
No, that one came through too late.
Oh, okay.
And then we have 3 judges, actually, who are all solar committers, Lucene solar committers. Steve Rowe, Mark Miller, and Upaya Vera. Did I say that right? All right, good. Thanks. All right, and so then prizes, we have Amazon gift cards. First prize will be a $100 Amazon gift card. Second prize, $50. Third prize, $25. And these will be sent to you via email after the conference. So. Anything else? You ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
Woo!
Here we go. First one, DocValues on TextFields. Do you want me to read it out?
Hello. Fucking Toke.
Toke.
Stand at the mic, dude. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Toke. And yes, this is the only t-shirt he owns.
No. What they all say.
Hold on, I gotta read this. So, DocValues is a golden hammer. Sounds right. Sorting, grouping, and faceting. I'll take your word for it. Great to have that option for text-like fields so that all the nice analyzers and tokenizers can be used to clean up content. Why can't we use DocValues for this? And what would it take to make DocValues an easily usable option for analyzed and tokenized fields? Wait, what's the last part? Pre-processing content with script update processor is not easily usable. That's a fair point. So what would it take? Why can't we? Let's start with that one. We can't because nobody did it yet. So I win that one. What would it take to make DocValues an easily usable option? So basically, the only limitation I think that exists today is just in the code, the way it's written. Field types have to say whether they support DocValues. And if they don't support DocValues, the schema flips out. And right now, the only fields that say they support DocValues are the numeric field types, and string field, I believe, actually supports DocValues, but it doesn't support analyzers. So I think if we added, I think it's just a couple lines of code to TextField to do it. The real problem is you got to make sure people don't abuse it and misunderstand it, right? With a string field, there's no analysis goes on, one value in, one value out. So you've got a multi-valued field, or you've got a single-valued field based on the declaration. With a text field, if we start doing this post-analysis, we have to pay attention to what comes out of the analyzer. We have to recognize the fact that if one value in might be multiple terms out. So a single-valued field still needs multi-valued DocValues. So there's some testing that would have to be done, but it should be doable. We just need a patch, and we need you to write it. And I win, right?
That's fair enough. It's that easy. I'll write it.
Okay, good. Yep, you do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody?
Great.
Anybody?
Thanks,
Miller? Am I wrong? No? You have no idea what we're talking about. Yep, all good? Yep. All right, you could actually say that. You could.
All good.
There we go. The judges have spoken. Thank you. Next question.
Next question, GC tuning.
No. I like how it's in bold. Like I can basically ignore everything with the bold part. What is the best way to tune heap size or other parameters in memory-consuming scenarios like this? Well, okay, apparently I have to read something else. We need to facet a field. Is this another Toke question?
No.
Yeah, no. I almost think Toke should answer this question. We need to facet a field of about 100 million unique values. We had a lot of performance problems, I believe you. Like GC pauses until we tuned the heap size. So you basically solve this by trial and error, which is not the best way. I would argue trial and error is always the best way, because then you know it's true. It's not just like a theoretical solution, like you did it and it worked. You win. I'm very torn between trying to answer the question of how to facet better versus trying to answer the question of how to GC tune, because one is the actual question that was asked and the other is the question that probably should have been asked. Is this person, who asked this? Are you here?
This was
I forgot to ask.
Bar.
Oh, why aren't you at a
there
mic?
you are.
Come over to the mic. Come over to the mic. So while you're walking over to the mic, I'm trying to think.
So for the record, actually, Haas, I got 4 separate GC questions.
GC tuning? Okay, so I
Yes.
can't just punt out of this and assume no one actually cares?
I wanted to have some conversation about GC.
All right, that's fair.
because
I can respect
it's
that.
Apparently.
Sorry, what was your
honest.
name?
Sorry?
What was your name?
Bar.
Baro.
Yeah, bar.
B-A-R.
B-A-R.
B-A-R?
Yeah.
Just Baro.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, gotcha. I was expecting more vowels just because.
No, just
I
one.
don't know. Yeah, so systematic GC tuning, there are definitely some good tools for analyzing GC logs, but that feels like a cop-out answer because that's still trial and error, right?
Yeah.
You still have to analyze.
That's
You have
basically
to
what
have
we
something
did.
to analyze. So that's a really good one, like to systematically GC tune. I mean, the best thing I can think of is there's some JMX options for GC tuning, right? So in theory, you could actually have a programmatic system monitoring GC via JMX and tweaking values. Yeah, that's a theoretically that's a thing you could do. I can't say that I've ever actually done it, but I'm pretty sure that actually is possible. I don't know. Is that anybody got anything better for tuning GC without trial and error?
Yeah, I mean, I would say first, like, use DocValues and get that off the heap so that you don't have all these GC
Oh, yeah,
pauses.
sorry. I was punting on the faceting part. Right.
Yeah, but that's first what I would say. And then I would say the best way to tune GC, unfortunately, is trial and error. If you're talking about billions of documents and really huge heaps, there is no formula that's going to tell you what is best. You basically decide
Right.
how much you can leave for the operating system cache and make the rest as big as you can. Use G1. That needs to be tuned, but if you tune G1, you can have solar heaps of 100 gigabytes, 200 gigabytes, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was punting on the faceting part, but yeah, I don't know that there's a better way than trial and error to tune GC. As far as the faceting part of the question, Toke, the fine gentleman with the star on his shirt that I mentioned before, he is definitely the guy to talk to about faceting 100 million unique values. Is your talk tomorrow or was it today? Tomorrow. Toke's actually got a talk tomorrow specifically on, I think it is actually titled Faceting 100 Million Values. So you should definitely talk to him.
Cool.
I am planning to be at that talk, I think, unless I got signed up for something else. The layman's answer to this question, because when you get to that order of magnitude, I am the layman, is definitely look into DocValues. Definitely look into pruning the term space as much as you can. A lot of people, like it's nice to just throw everything in there. But if you can do some heuristic analysis and say, like, these terms are never going to be the top terms, like it's like the stop word problem, right? If you can get it out of your index, you can save a lot of space, save a lot of time, save a lot of headache.
So basically tune the business questions.
What's that?
Basically tune the business questions.
Tune the business options, yeah. Tune the logic that you have. Try to minimize what you're actually faceting on. You can also, like at that scale, you're talking about a distributed search problem 90% of the time, and there. Some of the options for facet refinement, disabling some of that and skipping that second phase query can be helpful. I'm pretty sure that's actually an option, right? I think that's an option. If it's not, we just need to it's not. Yannick says it's not. So there are people who have hacked it. Right now, Solr does this like refinement where it makes sure that it gives you an exact count on facets. And I swear I thought somebody added an option that turned that off, but I guess not. So if you don't need perfect counts, that can save a lot of overhead. Maybe, did you work on that? And is it sitting in a patch? Is that why I have that in my head?
I talked about it.
You talked about it, but you never actually...
Folks, so
Oh, yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, people have done it, but I guess we don't have an actual flag for it. So that can save you a lot, but not as much, especially when we talk about the RAM involved, not as much as saying, these are such the long tail outliers, we can just get rid of them. Okay. So anybody else, better suggestions on the faceting 100 million part? I'm skipping the doc values because that was literally the last question, and Miller already said it before I had a chance.
Right. Well, just about using doc values to reduce memory usage. Lucene committer Adrian Grand opened an issue a couple of days ago to reduce even further the amount of memory that doc values uses by storing the ords that are pointers into the index store for doc values, so that that's also stored on disk instead of in memory as it is now. So doc values right now, excellent choice if you have lots of things to sort and group on.
They're just going to get better.
In 5.4, it's going to be even better. That's right.
Cool. Okay.
Erickson was waving his hand around.
Yeah. Does the what? Does the hyperlog log have stuff here? So Eric Erickson was asking about some hyperlog log stats. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it depends on why you're faceting on this stuff. If you're faceting on a classical faceting problem like terms or keywords, then no, I don't know that would help you. But if your ultimate goal is to use the facet results to get yourself some statistical sampling of things, then yeah, the stats component may be an alternative, but not as a general purpose solution. Just as if you're using faceting because it's the hammer you know, there may be a screwdriver that works better, and that may be the stats component.
We tried various solutions, but that's the question that we need to answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool. What?
Toke, did you have anything quick to add?
Just a comment. For once, DocValues isn't the answer, because we have 100 million unique values, so that's 400 megabytes for each call you make to it.
Yeah.
No matter if you have DocValues.
Well, but if it's so Toke's point is that's a lot of RAM, right? And it is a lot of RAM, but if it's the doc values and that's it, and you don't have a lot of other things to worry about, then those doc values can be shared. If it's in a real-time situation or you've got 100 million values in many fields, it's a problem. I know you have better solutions, and I am interested in your solutions, and I'm going to go listen to your solutions tomorrow. But there are people who have pulled it off, not necessarily your scale, but this scale could theoretically work if you... Yeah, so, all right.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah?
Good.
Yeah.
Moving
Oh, wait,
forward.
wow.
Fascinating.
Don't look at me, look at her.
What? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I
Somebody had
can't
another
see.
question.
Yeah. One last thing
I
on
don't know.
that.
She's trying to keep us to 5 minutes per question. I think we
Yeah,
went over.
I don't have a clock, so I can't
Oh.
tell. Okay, would you like to go up to the mic?
Yeah.
So, if we just used a bit set to pre-process those unique values into kind of like indexes into an array, and we could get exact values.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how DocValues works. The real issue is when you start having to aggregate across multiple shards, then the ordinal values aren't the same for every term on every shard. So there is still, ultimately, you have to know the real data. You have to know the real values to be able to compare. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. All right.
Another facet question.
All right.
Facets for e-commerce. With 6 buckets, but I don't know the min-max price before the search to create the buckets with almost the same. Oh, wait a minute. This person asked me this question today. They asked me this question at lunch.
Carlos.
Yeah. So how can I do this with only one search? Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I feel like I'm robbing you guys of watching me squirm because I literally thought about this question for 10 minutes, not 2 hours ago. My feeling, well, there's 2 answers to this. One is that you can use the stats component. You can't do it in one request. How can I do this in only one request? It's actually 2 requests. I'm not going to lie, but it's O of 1, so I call that a win. You can use the stats component to get the min, not only the min, but also the max, the mean, the standard deviation. You can even get it some percentiles. Using the hyperlog stuff that Eric brought up. So you can ask, what is the 90th percentile to get some good statistics about the spread of values. That's the quick answer. The long answer is don't do this. And the reason is because this isn't how people think, especially if you start talking about things like prices or popularity values or dates. If you are creating a UI, like if you're doing it for machine processing, like then you're in weird la la land and do whatever you want. But if you're actually trying to create a UI for people, if you show someone like, yes, pick your product, the price ranges are $0 to $18.78, $18.79 to $145, $146 to $148, because for some reason that's like a price point. And all of these have exactly 10 products in them. That doesn't help anybody. Like, no one looks at that and goes like, this totally makes sense. I know exactly what I want. What makes more sense to people are natural buckets that fit their mental model of even round numbers. But also that helps people visually sort of understand like what is the price point, right? If they're looking at the counts and they see, you do it by $10 increments and they see like 1, 1, 1, 78, 68, 50, 1, 1, 1. They get a really good idea of where the sweet spot is. They kind of see the distribution curve in the price range buckets. So that's why I think this is the wrong question to ask. And that's what I told Carlos during lunch. So.
Okay.
Anybody else? No? Judges?
No.
You all have to say something at least once. Miller's off the hook. I think you're the,
Steve.
yeah? Do you have any comment on this? If not, the next one is yours.
No.
No? All right.
Okay. I was actually an AV request. Could we bring the lights up in the room just a little bit so we can see better?
The house lights.
The house lights.
Not the spotlights.
Not the
Please, for the
spotlights,
love
yeah.
of God, don't turn
All
those
right,
up.
that's good. That's good. That's good. I just want to be able to really, I can't see anybody. So. Okay. Thank you. What?
With the analytics component.
Unfortunately, the mic is not on. I can't hear you.
Oops.
Okay, we'll go ahead.
I was saying in the analytics component, the contrib module does this exact behavior. You can basically issue a single query, get the min-max, or any sort of statistic, and then
that is true.
raise
Yes.
buckets for the
There's an analytics contrib that does this, also known as the OLAP contrib in some cases if you look at it. The one caveat I would point out on that is it doesn't support this on multiple nodes, correct? Can you nod or shake your head no, yes, no? Am I right?
It doesn't work on multiple shards because it can do accurate median calculations.
Right,
So-
that's right. So that's the caveat I just want to put out, but that's a good point. Thank you very much. Okay.
Ready?
We need to keep price inventory. I'm going to skip to the bold part. Can we get both low page load times and frequent content updates on the site within minutes? Yes. Now I'll go read the actual question. Price inventory stored in Solar reflected on site within minutes without taking a hit on cache clearing. How can my dynamics impact the number of requests? Okay. We have to take a middle path and cannot get both. Both what? Did I just miss something?
Both.
Reflected on the site within minutes without taking a hit on cache clearing.
Both. Quick.
What?
Updates of the price inventory. data
Okay. So we need it on the site, and we need the caching. Can we get both?
And we need to keep serving requests really fast because the last one is especially needed during peak holiday season.
Sure.
We've got a lot of traffic.
I mean, this is the trade-off, right? Like, I don't know.
And this is
I don't know that there is a one-size-fits-all solution to this. I think multi-layers of caching are helpful. I think caching in Solar is good, and then having kind of a front cache in front of your application can also be helpful. You want to make sure that those aren't fighting each other is one solution, or one situation that you have to worry about. That you're caching pages every hour, but you're trying to refresh your Solar caches every 30 seconds. Who cares if you're only hitting Solar every hour? It could definitely be tuned, and you can definitely get some good stuff out of it. I don't know that there's a great answer to this other than that it really depends on your business rules, right? I mean, I've definitely been in a situation where I was told, pricing data has to be up to the minute, and I delivered exactly that, up to the minute. That was it. I wasn't more aggressive than that because that let me maximize caching, both at the Solar query cache level and the filter cache level. But then I also took advantage of the information that I knew those results were going to be updated in a minute in a squid cache that I put in front of Solar. So it was aggressively caching final results as well. But it knew that anything older than 30 seconds, get rid of it. So I mean, I think you can do some decent stuff there, but at that point, like horizontal scaling is really a good solution just in general to make sure that you can have fresh data and you can have lots of nodes working on it in parallel, and you're distributing that load to try and sort of minimize worst case time, maximize the best case time. I always get those confused.
Go ahead.
But anyway, sorry. Is this your question?
No, I have a solution better
Sorry.
than this.
You have a different solution?
Yes, maybe with some caveats over here. So a lot of people have tried, and people know there's an external file field in Solar. If you get the external file field and rewire it to go to a different, the main solution is don't use Solar as a cache.
Did I
Use
misunderstand
an
this question?
external file field and go to Redis
Okay,
and
gotcha,
use
gotcha.
Redis
Yeah,
as
yeah.
an overall cache. You get both performance and the cache refresh times.
Okay, sorry. So this is also about the update level for price data changing. Sorry, I missed that. So this is the notion here is rapidly changing price data and rapidly changing availability. Yes, in that case, something like external file field can help you. You've still got issues if you're sorting on pricing. Those sorts don't really help if the pricing data is changing nonstop. You're still opening a new searcher as you update the pricing data. But that that definitely improves the situation in terms of the amount of data you have to update in Solar. If you just want to say this product is not available anymore, rather than doing a full update to a document, you can just Well, you're clearing the Solar caches.
That's
yes.
against the question.
No. Well, but things like front-end caches can be, help mitigate some of that. But the main thing is the update itself isn't as painful. Well, I want a pony, but that doesn't, not everybody gets what they want all the time. The question is, how do you minimize what you don't want, So, yeah.
So they already know they have to take a middle path, and that's what you're giving them.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Fuck you. You come up with a better solution then.
In the back.
The problem here
this
is
your
not
question?
that I can't be stumped. The problem here is if you guys come up with something that I didn't, then it's like. So you're telling me that my answer is the best answer?
Yeah, the middle row.
Okay, yeah. All right. I just want to clarify.
In the back, you want to.
Hey, Haas. So
Yeah.
I've seen a decent compromise once where Solar is not updated as frequently in order to keep the responsiveness there and the high cache rates and all that good stuff. But then when the actual top 10 results are shown, the actual detailed documents, that's fetched from somewhere else. And the vast majority of the time, it's consistent with what Solar has, and then the user just doesn't care. So it's worth noting that it doesn't,
Yeah. For those of you who didn't hear, that's Smiley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So David Smiley back there, his point was you can have your data in Solar be updated at some frequency. Let's say it's at a 5-minute threshold. You have an open search every 5 minutes. So your price data there might be a little stale. But then when you're serving an actual search result page, you query some more authoritative, more up-to-date system just for the top 10 products, just for the products that are showing up on your page. The caveat I would warn about that, and I'm not saying, not to dispute anything David said, because I've done that before too, where the actual visible price you show the user doesn't come out of a Solar field, it comes out of some other system. The only thing you have to slightly watch out for there is you do have to be careful what happens if that actually changes the order of your search results, right? If the user has explicitly said sort by price, and you've explicitly said, I am sorting by price, and then you show them prices that are out of order, you look like an idiot. So you either have to reorder things just on that one page, or you have to fudge things, or you have to, it's the one caveat to watch out for. It's a good solution, and thank you, David, I appreciate it. But I do want to point that out, so.
Something I've thought about is have your price data in a separate collection, do a join between the two collections, to do your sorting, your filtering by price. You can use the new score join feature to include the price from that other collection in your scoring on the original collection, and then you could get a doc transformer. We could write one that can basically say, go get that value out of the other collection and put it in as a value in my output.
It's like a join doc transformer.
Yeah.
We could. You're kind of bypassing the issue of cache clearing just because that query will never cache because the join information is changing every time, right? So I don't know that you could actually cache that query and solve. Like you've basically said, I'm going to avoid having to open a new searcher by never caching the information because it came from a joined thing where that searcher was reopened. So I don't know. I mean, the theory is sound. I don't know that the performance will actually be any better is my only concern. But yeah, that's another. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if that's better, but it makes sense. And you've now filled your obligation. Everyone on stage has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause.
Okay. All right, so why don't we see if there's someone in the audience who wants to ask a question? Does anyone want to
Bueller?
have a live question?
Bueller?
Feel free to stand up
Anybody?
and go to the
Yeah,
mic.
just jump up to the
Yep,
mic. Jump up to the mic.
Yep.
First one to the mic gets to
And
ask a
first,
question.
just start with your name. Oh, you pre-cleared it with Yannick.
So basically, you've already conspired against me. You already know the answer to this. You just want to see.
No, I want to hear other thoughts too for this.
Oh, okay.
Question.
So what you're telling me is Yannick, you didn't like Yannick's answer. That's a great position to be in. Thanks.
Yeah,
Go ahead. What was your name? Sorry.
It's Barani.
Okay, slower.
It's Barani.
Barani.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Barani. Okay.
Yeah. So thing is like we actually change the price based on the authentication of the customers. So we dynamically calculate the price. We have a specific API which actually calculates the price once the user is a logged in user. We pass in the SKU IDs to the API and we get back the price. That will be a new discounted price.
Okay, so just before you keep going, I just want to clarify and tell me if I'm wrong, but I want to make sure everybody else gets this. So basically, your pricing model depends on user-specific data. Every user has a different price depending on some demographic info you know about them as a logged-in user that you get from another system.
Yeah.
Okay, so one, you're evil, and what was the question?
So the thing is like, I mean, we use a lot of...
Wait, hold on. I have to hear him. Save your applause for me for later.
So we use a price information inside the Solar to do the sorting. So the price actually changes if the particular customer is like logged in as a specific
Do you have a baseline price if they're not logged in?
Yeah.
Is the price per user dependent on some predictable function?
No. So that's the thing. They have a different logic based on different timelines. So for example, we give employee-specific pricing. So if you are an employee of a specific company and log into our website, so they will have a different pricing based on a different calculation. We don't even know what the calculation is. It's done by external API. When they do a sort now,
say that again?
So if we want to do a sort based on the new price as well as the old price, because not all the values in the old price will have the new discounted price. So we need to, when they do a sort from low to high or high to low, we want to dynamically use the new price in the sort.
So the question is about dynamically sorting these products based on this totally bullshit price that they get. It depends on whether the user's logged in. But the part that I'm missing, the thing that makes this a solvable problem or a non-solvable problem is understanding what the rules are for how a price is determined. Like in your flow of information, you know a user's logged in. What do you do with that to get prices? And do you have to do it on a per product basis or do you do it on the aggregate? Do you get a formula back that says the user gets products that are 10% off or 80% off, or how does it come back?
No, actually we pass in the SKU IDs along with the particular customer ID to the service.
Right.
So based on this customer ID.
So it's the worst possible situation. So it's the worst possible situation, which is that the only way he knows how much a product costs is to say, I have a user ID, I have a product ID, give me a price. And you have to do that one at a time for every product, right?
No, actually the API accepts like multiple SKU IDs and the customer
Oh,
IDs.
okay, so you can do it slightly in bulk.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the second worst possible situation. Yeah, so the only real solution I have to this is you can do this. If it were me and I was asked to do this, the first thing I would do is throw a chair through a window. The second thing I would do is I would go remind myself the value source API. I think the value source API is the best place to do this. You could also do this as a custom query. This is probably the exact answer Yannick gave you, right? Which is why you're nodding. Yes, I already knew. As soon as you asked me this question, I'm like, oh, there's only one answer to this question. You want a custom value source. You want your value source API to call out to your external system. You can batch them a little bit. The easiest way to do it, if possible, if your index size is small enough, the easiest way to do it would actually be to do like huge chunks of the collection at a time. If your index is huge, you don't really want to do that because the number of matches could be so small, it could not be worth it, right? You know, if you have 1 million products and the person's search only matches 1,000, it's really stupid to be asking for 10,000 at a time.
Yeah.
You just ask for the 1,000 that match. But you can, I think you could batch that, right? You could do some batching, I'm pretty sure. Worst case scenario, you do it one at a time, but let's start with that and assume you can optimize later.
Okay.
That API will say for a given document what is its value. And if you do that as a value source, then you can still fold it into other functions. You could still do some interesting complex functions where you do a smart sort on price and popularity where it's actually the user's price.
Okay.
But you could definitely do it as a value source. I'm just trying to think, can you actually optimize that to batch given the value source API? And if not, you could definitely do it with a query, but yeah, I'd have to look at that a little closer. I still think a value source API is the right way to go.
Okay.
So, Dijana, is that did it? No? Yeah. So, I win.
All right.
What you could do to improve performance a bit is use query re-ranking.
Oh,
So,
yes.
so what you do is you would sort by the price, by the public price.
That's a good point.
And that might be across your 100,000 products.
Right.
But then you take the top 1,000 products and rescore those in the query ranking by your more expensive price.
Right. So what he's talking about, there's a feature in Solar, and there's a caveat to this again, as there's a caveat to almost everything. The feature he's talking about is called query ranking, and the idea is that you can use in the abstract, the idea is you have a really complicated query, and it's super expensive to compute per document, like its score or its sort or its rank or whatever it is. So you say, well, that's actually a subset of a much larger query, of a much broader, simpler query. So I'm going to execute the broad, simple query. I'm going to sort by the simple scoring or the simple sorting, and then I'm only going to sample the top 1,000 or 10,000 or however many documents, and those are the only ones I'm going to do the complex sorting and scoring on. The caveat that I would point out with his solution is if he's truly got a black box where the price could be anything for any person, then the naive sorting on the default price, it could literally be the exact opposite sort, so sampling the top 1,000. If, however, you're in a situation where you're not total scum and the price you charge people is only slightly different than the default price, then it's probably a good baseline to start by saying, like, we'll just roughly get the top 1,000 by the normal, like, actual retail price, and then we'll tweak and fudge based on the other price. That's totally, I should have got that one. I should have had that.
Ooh,
all right, yeah, ooh.
Something else for that last question, too. I know BioSolar has an external join functionality.
This is Doug, right?
I'm Doug.
Yes,
Hi,
sorry,
everyone.
this is Doug. Doug is the actual Snuggie wearer, for the record. I don't know why Will said that
I did Snuggies before it was cool.
Yeah. Doug owns, it's 8, right? You have 8 Snuggies?
I have that's all I wear to work. I didn't wear it to bring it to the conference. I didn't know it was a Snuggie conference.
No. But I'm not mistaken, right? You got 8 Snuggies in one order?
Well, what happened was
No excuses. No excuses. Just nod. You ordered 8 Snuggies at one time.
And that many complimentary map lights.
All right.
So I could read.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
yes,
so,
but Doug is the Snuggie wearer. I do not own a Snuggie. Go ahead, Doug.
I did. There is something you were talking about batching value sources. I think BioSolar, and I think there's a patch to Solar for this, has something called XJoin, which lets you join from external scoring sources. So that might also.
And that does the batching?
Yeah, I think it might do batching because they do. They just for like asking a whole bunch of stuff about recommendations or asking a whole bunch of stuff about chemical structures.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I can't see the API in my head right now to like visualize it, but I'm pretty sure it's possible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The other thing, I just had a simple question, which is I saw that BM25 is the default ranking algorithm in Trunk and Lucene now, and I was wondering when and if that's coming to Solar.
Okay, so the question was about BM25, which is a scoring model. In 6.0.
I like how we tacked that on there.
Yeah, totally unrelated.
But by the way.
Yeah. So BM25 is a scoring model. Historically, Lucene's default scoring model has always been TF-IDF. BM25, among people who I trust, is apparently a fundamentally better scoring model for text. And it will be the default in 6. His question was about Solar. It'll be the default in Solar in 6. I just need to write 5 lines of code to do that. And the reason it's becoming the default, you can use BM25 right now, for the record. The reason the default is changing in 6 is purely because it relies on index statistics, which exist in 5 but didn't exist in 4. And because of the back compatibility rules about index reading, 6 isn't going to be guaranteed to read an index that old, but any index that 6 does read will have those stats, so it can be the default. So it's just a cascading dependency of information, basically. So that'll be but if you want to try it, it's people who are smart say it's better than TF-IDF, so you can go try it right now in 5.4 if you want, or
it's highly
5.3. What are we on? 5.3. 5.3. You can try it in 5.3. So.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, moving along.
So I just want to check, have we just stumped you on the question of what's the current version of Solar?
That's up to you.
Well, you're the judge, so, I mean, no, my point is you don't have to wait for 6. You could try it in the next release, or you could try it in the current release. You could probably have tried it a year ago. I don't remember when exactly BM25 came out, but no.
It was a long. Next question.
We have a question.
Query throttling. I didn't bold this one just to
There's no
throw
bold.
you
I
off.
have to read the whole fucking thing. There is no query control or throttling. Sometimes the client will issue a query, and that query will end up running for a very, very long time. Typically, the client will give up waiting and move on to something else. However, the query will continue running. Is there a way to cancel these queries? No. I win. I was not stumped at all. There is no way to cancel it. I win. There are options you can specify when you do a query to say that you want to have the query time out after a certain amount of time. You have to specify it when you do the query, basically, that you want that timeout to be applied. There is a slight overhead to this, as we discovered recently. Whoa, what is going on?
I don't know,
there?
man.
Dude,
sorry.
Sorry, there's like a disco show on our little display here. So you have to, I forget the option. I think it's time, I don't know. There's a query parameter. It's in the ref guide. If you don't know what I mean by the ref guide, shame on you. What is it?
Time allowed.
Time allowed, thank you. It's called time allowed. Not timeout, time allowed, which is how long you want Solar to be processing this query. It is not a guarantee that at that time it will quit. What it is it's a threshold that says if the code notices that that amount of time has elapsed when it gets to certain key points in the processing logic, it will give up. In the olden days, it only applied to certain parts of the processing. Nowadays, more places in the code check to see, have I exceeded the time allowed? Am I supposed to look at that? No.
No, yeah.
So it does work. There is, however, as I was about to say, there is a slight overhead. Some code changed recently that turned it up basically on all the time with an infinite timeout, and people noticed that it had a performance hit, which means we fixed the performance hit, but it does still mean that there is some, I don't know how to describe it. There is some overhead to using this feature because it is going to check basically as it's iterating over documents, as it's doing faceting. It's, every now and then it's spending a few cycles to check this time limit. But it does exist, and that is the best option I could think of to cancel queries is to just put a default time allowed. You can configure it in your request handler or something to just say, hey, like by default, cancel any query that takes more than X seconds. Yeah?
So what happens to your results then if you quit in the middle of it?
Well, so if the client is still waiting and the time allowed is exceeded, you will get some form of partial results depending on how far it got. If it actually collected some documents and it made it into the search, then you will get whatever it collected, which is going to depend on index order and things like that. There is information in the response that tells you it's a partial response, so you can at least check that. In some cases, it might have finished collecting the page of results you asked for, but like faceting didn't get done. So then you're just not going to get facet results. Or it might not have finished highlighting, so you'll get the query results but no highlighting or something like that. There will be a flag to let you know that it's partial results. But if the user canceled the query, then they don't get anything because they're gone already. So, yeah.
Right.
Cool?
Okay,
Yeah?
cool.
Solved.
All right.
What are you writing? All right.
Hey.
Steve's the only one writing. Yeah. It's very disconcerting because I feel like he's writing way more than there are questions. But anyway.
Okay.
Horse.
What?
I just want to ask something. I mean, if you're really persistent, yeah, Solar
Is that RAM?
Solar doesn't provide a way to do this, agreed. But if you're really persistent, there is nothing really stopping you from doing this because
Are we talking about the next question or the last question?
Just this question itself.
The throttling or the?
The throttling. If
Okay.
you want to cancel as opposed to not specify it up front, there's nothing really stopping you from doing it if you're ready to write some custom code. In the sense that, I mean, the mechanism just sort of calculates up front that this is the amount of time I want to allow, and executable directory essentially quits at that point. I mean, if you want to separate endpoint which says cancel this query and I have a query ID, You could just set a volatile there and just return at that point. I mean,
you could just set the what? I'm not hearing the last part.
You just have to set a volatile boolean in the directory, which is actually quitting at that point, saying that don't proceed any further instead of checking a time, right? I mean, all I'm saying is that if you're ready to write some custom code, this should be easily possible.
Well, I mean, yes and no, right. I mean, any answer that's write custom code, I feel like is a cop-out. You could just go write your own search server, and then you solve this problem. So, I mean, yes, I see what you're saying.
It's easily pluggable, that's what I'm saying.
Right, for those who didn't get, the point is there's already this check, like, have I exceeded the threshold by which I should no longer process this query? And right now, the only thing that triggers that threshold is time. And Ram's point is you could write a custom plugin that dropped some other information into RAM into a variable somewhere that said, fuck you, you're taking too long. The question is, how would a client trigger that, right? I don't think right now there's any easy way to hook into the networking stack to say the client has given up on the request, therefore I'm going to set that Boolean. I could be wrong, and he's back at the mic, so I'm sure he's going to tell me.
So the way you can do it.
Oh, they turned the mic off.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear you from you.
Hello? The way you can do this is you just associate a query ID with every query you send, right?
Right.
And then essentially you have a separate handler which just says cancel this query.
Oh yeah, okay. So you're assuming like really long running queries and like a transactional API, and the user's like, I have a query, and you say, okay, your query, your ticket number 78 in line, and then later you say 78 like gave up and left, cancel that query. Yeah, sorry, I was just assuming like more generically, like if the client breaks the connection. I don't know that there's an easy way, even in a custom Solar plugin, to hook into that and know the client broke the connection and give up. And you guys are looking at me like you have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm going to assume I'm right. But yes, right. With infinite amount of custom code, you could absolutely solve this problem. There's no disagreement there. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Right. So this is one I started reading. So query response times are directly proportional to the number of Lucene segments. I'm going to assume that's true in your use case. I don't know that that's generally true, but I'm going to assume it's true. When max segment size is reached, Lucene will no longer merge those segments with any other ones. Why? How is this limit determined? What would be the implications of increasing it? Seems like this limit has been in the product a long time now. Given the technology keeps improving, disks are getting bigger and faster, is it time to increase that limit? This sounds like a loaded question. This sounds like someone who's already tried this and decided that it should be increased and has opened a Jira and submitted a patch. I could be wrong, but that's just the way it's written. It's written like I'm being baited into something here. If I didn't know any better, I'd think Mikhail asked this question, but I already checked. Mikhail didn't ask any questions, so I know this is it might be a ploy, but it's not his ploy. I'm not convinced that that's a hard limit. That sounds like a limit that might be applied by the merge policy, and there are multiple merge policies available. That's not a hard limit though in the index writer, right? No, so you could. It's a configurable limit?
Resulting merge segment size can be.
Of the log merge policy, right? Yeah. Why don't you have a mic?
Sorry.
No. Why don't you have a mic and say what you just said so other people can hear you?
I'm answering. I'm just
no,
giving
go
some
ahead
help.
and repeat that so
so
anybody besides me knows.
As far as I know, there is no maximum size of what can be reached. There's a maximum size of the resulting segments. So at some point, I don't know what the default is, maybe it's 5 gigabytes, but there's some setting you can set both in Lucene and Solar that says this is the maximum resulting merge segment size. And as far as I know, you can set that to whatever you want.
Right, and I'm pretty sure that's a merge policy setting. So you could even experiment with other merge policies. There's 3 or 4 that come with Lucene and Solar, I think, by default. Some of them are based on segment size, some are based on documents, some are based on gigs. But they're all tunable, and I don't believe there's any true upper limit on the segment size. There's just a default limit, probably. So you could definitely tune that. The default probably hasn't changed just because defaults rarely change, just because we don't want people to upgrade and then suddenly the code behaves in a weird way. So
it's also probably not like a documented configuration in Solar. It's just kind of like because of these weird configuration rules, you actually can specify all these random Lucene things that you don't really know about.
Right. Yeah, at the Lucene level, there's probably a method on the merge policy. At the Solar level, if you read the documentation in the ref guide, which I mentioned before, very important. If you don't know about the ref guide, go look into the ref guide. If you read the reference guide, it does talk about configuring merge policies, and it kind of punts to the Java docs, because the way it's set up, any method that exists in the merge policy, you can put some configuration in your configuration file that says, I want this value to be X, and then goes and calls the appropriate method for you. So just because you don't necessarily see it explicitly in the ref guide doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You have to actually read the paragraphs in the ref guide that talk about how to configure merge policies. There's not like a list of every setting because it's going to depend on which policy you pick is the key.
Yeah.
So
just validating over here, we do have reached index sizes where a single segment can go over 200 GB. And it's not advisable for everybody, but it does work. There is no hard-coded limit over there.
All right.
And depending on your storage platform, where you are, it may be also a wise thing for you to do.
Cool. Thank you.
Great,
so for
thank
those
you.
who didn't hear him, he said he can confirm he personally has segments that are 200 gigs. So they're all full of
Chris,
shit.
I
What?
actually
800 gigs. Tom's got 800 gigs.
Hey, Chris.
Not fuck you. This is not a bidding war. I am not a piece of meat. Stop telling me. Stop bidding on your segment size. You don't win. You don't win for having 1 terabyte segment.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, Eric.
I actually had to look at this at one point. I'm going to blame Mike McCandless for this one. But all of the internal member variables for those segment merge policies, you can set in your Solr config. There's reflection going on underneath the covers to say, okay, if you happen to know that this particular member variable of the merge policy class you're using, you want to reset it, just set it in solrconfig.xml. It'll be found.
Exactly. Exactly. It'll all work.
We should probably write that down.
What?
Nothing. Just thinking about the ref guide. Maybe, you know. All right.
Efficient subqueries.
This one, I'll admit, I did not understand this question.
You know,
I
okay.
tried to bold what I thought was
The fact that you
main
used,
point of the question.
Is that an asterisk?
Well, that came
You don't
from,
have like bullets?
That came from the, I just copied and pasted from an email.
All right, well.
This is a very difficult
This is,
job.
I mean-
have a very difficult job here. Copying, pasting
We're in like
is
a
one of them.
fucking world-class hotel with like projector screens bigger than my house, and you can't figure out how to like make a bullet in PowerPoint.
I could have figured it out, but I was very busy.
They brought us beer on stage. I didn't even have to smuggle that in. That was just sitting there when we got here, yet we still can't figure out how to put a bullet in PowerPoint.
I could figure it out.
Meanwhile, this projector is showing bullets in PowerPoint for shit I don't even care about.
We
But
all
this
now
one
know
is like
what all
hard
the
to read.
presentations tomorrow are going to be.
What?
Said we know what tomorrow's
Oh,
presentations
yeah.
are
We're
gonna
watching
be.
all of tomorrow's presentations on the screen. It's pretty hilarious, actually. Okay, so efficient subqueries. We have a string of query terms along with optional user location. I'll assume that's important. Nested document schemata? Is that a word? Okay.
Sure.
Is that the plural of schema? I've been
Technically,
stumped.
that's
I didn't
why
even
I
know.
left it. See, I copy edited it enough to
You're
know
like,
that was a real word.
I assume this is a word. We have nested document schemata with several short, almost structured, and long, unstructured text fields. Given the query string, we want to figure out weighted substrings to subquery assignments. I already don't know what I'm saying. Build a query tree. Well, IE, great. For acceptable and predictable relevance and dynamic. Who is this? A resume? What am I reading? This is your question? Okay. I'm going to finish reading it, and then I'm going to ask you to explain it to me. Would prefer if, as much as possible. I'm sorry, you're using way too big of words for me. Like I know it doesn't look like it, but I am not a smart man. Prefer as much as possible the index itself is treated as the language model, so to speak. Sure. How can we do this with Solr efficiently with 100 millisecond response times? We have close to 20 million smallish. I'm sorry, man. This is too hilarious. There's so many like hedging your bet kind of like as much as possible, smallish. Field-like title, like
Almost structured.
What? Almost structured.
Almost
Yeah.
structured.
I feel like this is both something I would write and something I would be terrified of. All right, so hold on. There's a bold part. Let me read this again. Weighted substrings to subquery assignments to build a query tree for acceptable and predictable relevance. Yeah, I'm so lost. You get up here. Sorry, stand up. What? So first off, what's your name? What's your name, sir?
Aditya, but Addy.
What?
Addy.
Addy.
Yeah.
Addy. Okay. So without looking at the slides, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Without looking at the slides, what is your question?
Okay, so we have a one-box search.
Okay.
And our documents are semi-structured, so they have a set of fields. And some of them are long description type fields, and some of them are kind of curated. So that's kind of the most structured you have, like 2-word phrases, 3-word phrases. And then there's something in the middle, which is hand typed, but it's typed by a set of curators. So that's the data, which is structured. And then you have a single box search, and that's the only experience you have from the user. And we are a shitty site, so we don't have any usage really. So we don't have query log.
Sorry, you're a what site?
Shitty site.
Shitty site.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. That's what I heard, and I just assumed it was wrong. Because usually I'm the only one who says that. Sorry, go ahead.
So we don't have any kind of like usage logs to say like, okay, this query and the user actually clicked this and didn't click that and do that machine learning cool stuff. We don't have that data.
Right. Yeah.
So kind of just trying to use Solr. Obviously, so I have a solution that I have done for it, in the sense that, so the problem, just to reiterate, is to take this string, which is coming in as a query,
right,
and to structure it into a query tree, right? So that's, I mean, actually, we had a really good talk from Trey in the morning about this kind of intent, kind of a thing. Right, but so obviously they've done a lot of stuff in representing graphs and stuff inside and outside of Solr.
Okay.
But
ultimately, you're wondering what is a good solution?
Kind of, I mean, what's the minimum code in general out there?
Okay, got it. Okay, so to summarize, given interesting documents, given that you've put time and effort into thinking about how to structure your data that you want to search, right? It's not just a text file on disk that you have as a giant ball of words. You actually have meaning and intent and importance, and you know that this is the title of the document and that's important, and this is the body and that's less important, and these are editorially curated keyword fields and etc. But no resources whatsoever to actually do good intent and analysis on the user behavior. Just a simple text box where they type in whatever the fuck they want. How do you give them good results when you don't have tons of resources to put behind a machine learning initiative or a training initiative to actually generate, a feedback to learn what you want to do, right? Yeah, he's nodding. Cool, so I got it. So now that I understand the question, the answer is I'm sorry. Like, that sucks. That really sucks. Because, I mean, there's no magic. The best you can do is to keep things as simple as possible. When you don't have resources to really apply good practices, the best you can do is try to be a catch-all and to try and let the relevancy algorithms work for you. So that would be something like having a catch-all field where you put all the words in it. Maybe do some bare bones dismax boosting on a few of the fields that you know are important, and just make a rough guess as to what some good weights are to bias it. So you have editorially populated keyword fields. Make those more important than your other catch-all field. What you don't want to do is go overboard with keyword stuffing. Don't let the editorial keywords appear in like 78 fields and then be like surprised that relevancy is broken and every document with a keyword is scoring at the roof. There's no magic. It's not going to figure out on its own what's good and what's bad. You have to spend time and you have to put effort into a system to make it work well.
It looks like Ted.
Yeah, my answer to that, Haas, is wrong.
Yeah.
You're stumped. You do have the information. It's called the Lucene field cache. It actually knows all the field values in these fields. And there's a technique that I've written about called query auto filtering, which actually the sentence there would prefer if as much as possible, and this is the part that's important, the index itself is treated as the language model, so to speak. So when you have structured data in fields, the field cache actually has this language model. You can build an inverted map of that and then map the query. You can use a boost query or so forth. So I think that was a stump, in my opinion.
I mean, you could definitely use the index. I mean, you can get information out of the index. There's no, I'll agree with you on that. But you could get that information without the index, right? Like if you never use Solar and you never use Lucene, if you've got a fixed set of data, if you're willing to put in the effort and you're willing to put in the code, you can extract that. And what you're saying is things like the field cache or DocValues, they give you APIs that make that easier. But feeding that back into actually generating queries programmatically based on the user input to infer intent from what the user said, that's not an out-of-the-box turnkey thing that Solar will give you right now. And that's kind of the point I was getting. You're right. I mean, again, with infinite custom code, this is a solvable problem.
Well, does a Jira submission count? Is it in a gray area?
That's a gray area, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're saying there's a patch that helps with this where it figures out that these words are more common in these
It's a search
fields?
component
Yeah.
which actually builds an FST on the values to the field. And then it uses that to parse the
what you're
query.
saying. Okay. No, that's true. Yeah. You should talk to him and get that Jira later. He's in the back. That's Ted, by the way.
And you guys should look at it too.
Yeah, we should. That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
All right.
Yeah.
That is it.
Really?
Yeah.
Are we out of time?
We are out of time.
Oh, shit. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So who won?
So number one was an audience question from Barani.
Barani. What was the question?
Yes.
I don't remember. Oh,
That was the one
yeah.
with
All
the
right.
sword,
Woo!
yes.
Congratulations. So I forgot. If you win any prizes, make sure Cassandra has your email. If you already emailed her the question, great. If not,
So,
come
Barani, I
talk
will
to her
need your
afterwards. So
email.
we'll get your email. So that was first place. Who was second place?
Second place was the. Hold on one second.
Aramaic, ladies and gentlemen. Difficult language to learn, even harder to read. That's my Jeopardy theme song, by the way. I don't know if you can tell.
I think so.
I'm really bad at it.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I'm not one of the judges, but I decided to second guess them anyway.
All right, second place.
All right, the second place was Carlos Spanciato's question on the faceting.
Carlos Santiago's question on faceting? Okay. Oh, yeah, Carlos. Okay, cool. And who was third place?
And then third was Adi's question subqueries.
Adi on
Thank
subquery.
you very
Nice.
much.
Okay.
So, Adi,
if you didn't email your question, make sure she has your email. And if
so
you did
Barani, I
email
need
your
your
question,
email.
I'll get you your prize next week probably.